You know, one of the most amazing things for me that proves the dependability of prophecy is Jesus' first coming. Now, I mentioned to you that I am from a Jewish background. My mother was Jewish, very loyal about her being Jewish, even though she was not very religious. You realize you can be Jewish and not be religious. And when she heard I was thinking of being a Christian, that really upset her. It upset my whole family, Jewish family anyway. And I thought very carefully about Christianity because we always thought Christians persecute the Jews. You may not know this, but some Jews have the idea that many of the Nazis claimed to be Christians. And you can go through history. There's been a lot of persecution. So for me to accept Jesus and the New Testament as valid was a real struggle. But I began to look at the Old Testament prophecies, and it was very troubling to me because there are over 300 Old Testament prophecies regarding the Messiah that are fulfilled when Jesus came. And it was fulfilled perfectly. Let me give you an example of just a few of those I have here in my Bible that I've added to my notes. Prophecies that are very specific, dealing with things like, talks about the time of his birth, that he'd be born of a virgin, the place of his birth, his ministry, the events of his betrayal, the manner of his execution, his resurrection and ascension, and it all happened exactly as God's word had foretold it would happen. Notice here, Old Testament, Micah chapter 5, verse 2, said he would be born in Bethlehem. Matter of fact, the religious leaders knew that. They quoted that to King Herod. They knew that was a prophecy. It happened. Born of a virgin, Isaiah 7:14. Did it happen? That he would be of the lineage of David, King David. Did that happen? I'm just giving you 12 out of 300. That King Herod would try to murder him as a baby, Jeremiah 31:15. Did it happen? Sold for 30 pieces of silver. How can you be that specific in advance? Zechariah chapter 11, verse 12. Did it happen? You can talk to me. This is a seminar. Did it happen? Okay, thank you very much. I feel better. People watching around the world are going to think there's nobody here. Crucified. Crucifixion wasn't even in effect when David prophesied that. Did it happen? That his clothing would be gambled for. How could you predict that? Psalm 22:18. None of his bones would be broken. Did it happen? The way the Bible prophesied? Psalm 34:20. Buried in a rich man's tomb, Isaiah 53:9. Did it happen? The year, hour of his death, the year, day, and hour of his death, Daniel 9:26 and 27, Exodus 12, the number, did it come true? That he'd be raised the third day, Hosea chapter 6, verse 2, did it come true? Now, I've just given you 12 of 300 Old Testament prophecies about the first coming of Jesus. See, during the seminar, we're going to talk a lot about the second coming of Jesus. I want you to know he came the first time just as he predicted. By the way, don't forget, God's people had been waiting 1,500 years for his second coming, almost 2,000 years from Abraham. They had begun to lose faith it was going to ever happen. The very same thing that is happening now, 2,000 years after his first coming. He's going to come right on time. That's why we're singing that song, Jesus will come on time. He's not late. Somebody did a survey on this. Dr. Peter Stoner, former chairman of astronomy and the engineering at the Pasadena College in California, he worked with 600 students for several years. He applied the principles of probability, he was a statistician, regarding the prophecies of the Messiah's coming, just considered 8 prophecies. Of those 8 prophecies, of the hundreds that are available, they decided that statistically the chances of all 8 of those being fulfilled in one man in a lifetime is more than 1. Now, I don't know what that number is. But there are 33 zeros, I counted them. And if someone wants to email me and tell me what that number is, I'll be happy to share it with everybody. What are the chances of somebody staging that? What are the chances of that happening by accident? There's no question that Jesus was the Messiah, and he came right on time, just as the prophecy said he would.